On November 21st, 1915, Ernest Shackleton watched the Endurance disappear beneath the Weddell Sea. The ship hadn't struck an iceberg. The pack ice had gripped the hull, squeezed it, lifted it, and slowly broken it apart. The 28 men aboard had been trapped since January 19th, about 85 miles from the Antarctic shore they were trying to reach. Now there was no ship, no radio, and no obvious way home. And that's what gets me. The sinking wasn't the climax. It was the moment their expedition stopped being an expedition and became a daily survival problem. They had sailed from England in August 1914 to cross Antarctica, which is already an ambitious sentence. But by the time the ship went down, their world had narrowed to immediate decisions. They had to preserve the food, keep the boats and tents usable, and understand where the ice was carrying them. They had 69 sled dogs. As conditions worsened, they eventually relied on seal and penguin meat, and the ice beneath them wasn't solid ground. It cracked, drifted, and changed direction. The crew was camping on a surface that could quietly become open ocean. For months, they dragged their lifeboats across the ice and waited for a chance to launch them. Then, on April 15th, 1916, they reached Elephant Island, the first solid ground they'd stood on in a very long time. It was a bleak refuge, remote, exposed, and nowhere near a regular shipping route. Shackleton understood that keeping everyone together wasn't automatically the safest choice. Most of the men would stay on the island. He and 5 others would take the James Caird, one of the expedition's small lifeboats, toward South Georgia. That meant sailing about 800 miles across the Southern Ocean in an open wooden boat. What does 800 miles look like from inside a boat barely 7 meters long? 6 men, rough water, and a small island somewhere ahead of them. The crossing depended on a hand compass, a sextant, and a navigator named Frank Worsley. Worsley had to navigate through cloud, spray, and rough seas, using brief glimpses of the sun to check their position. After 16 days, they reached South Georgia, but on the wrong side of the island. So Shackleton, Worsley, and Tom Crean crossed its unmapped interior on foot. They climbed over mountains and glaciers without proper mountaineering equipment. The expedition had begun as a planned crossing of Antarctica. Now it included an improvised alpine traverse, because apparently the Southern Ocean hadn't provided enough difficulty. Meanwhile, the men on Elephant Island waited. They had no radio link. They had no way to know whether the James Caird had survived, and no guarantee that anyone outside the expedition even knew where they were. Shackleton reached a whaling station and began organizing rescue attempts, but sea ice kept blocking the approach. The first boat failed, then another. This wasn't one clean, heroic rescue. It was a chain of plans being tried, stopped, and tried again. On August 30th, 1916, Shackleton finally reached Elephant Island. Every one of the 28 men from the Endurance survived. That number matters because the original mission had failed completely. They never crossed Antarctica. They never reached their planned landing point, and they lost the ship that was supposed to make the journey possible. Then, in 2022, researchers found the Endurance on the seafloor, more than a century after it sank. The wreck was remarkably preserved, with its name still visible on the stern. The ship remained down there, at the place where the plan ended, while the people who had depended on it made it home. That's the part I keep coming back to. Shackleton didn't save the expedition as originally imagined. He saved the men. The mission failed, the people didn't.